welcome everyone to this session, our first interview and presentation of the summit. This story is something that I've known about for some years now, and the plight of the Chagossian people and the story of the Chagossian people, I think, is something which not enough people know about, and will probably resonate with many other island communities around the world. I'm thrilled today to have Louis Elyse, who is a member of Chagossian Voices and can give his personal account of the story of the Chagossian people and what has happened there. So Louis, I'll invite you to come up onto the screen, and I'm going to share a quick poll while you come on, just to ask our audience a general question, to know a bit about their background. And hopefully Louis is here and able to turn his camera on.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Louis Elyse. I was born in exile from Chagossian parents. I came to the UK in June 2003 with a group of people who was, we were told obviously at the time by the leader of the Chagossian refugee group that we will find work, and it was for a better life. So when we arrived in the UK, which was Heathrow at the time, we gone through a lot of struggle. Things that were said to us were not exactly the same. So we were told like we were going to get work, and obviously we had our passport, like all our paperwork, but the majority of the people that came through was roughly like groups of over 20 people. Mm-hmm. And we did not really speak English at the time. And unfortunately, after spending 2 weeks in Bayswater in London, so we were made homeless because we run out of money. There was no help from the government, and we did not get any help either from the leader of the Chagossian community at the time. So I personally ended up sleeping with some of the people, the groups with me, 1 week outside Gatwick Airport, inside Gatwick Airport, arrival on the bench. And
Louis,
another week.
Sorry, just before you go into the story, because I think you have a really powerful personal story and background. I'm just going to disappear off screen in a second, but just for your context as well, we just did a poll of the audience here, and actually 78% of our audience said they don't know anything about the Chagos Islands at all. So we really have a lot of people who this is a new story for. 22% said they're already familiar with the story. And in terms of who the audience joining here, we have 17% from the Pacific, 30% from Europe, 12% from the Caribbean, but also Africa, Asia, Latin America. So a really global audience of people joining and a whole range of backgrounds. And we discussed the map. So just before you go into the story again, I want to share the map so people are familiar with the location of the islands. And you'll see here what's marked as the British Indian Ocean territory, just south of the Maldives. And maybe you can just...
Yeah, obviously, Chagossian were deported, were exiled from their own island for purpose of defense, for a US military air base in the Indian Ocean. As everyone can see, Chagos Island is right in the middle of the Indian Ocean, and Chagossian people were forcibly removed and exiled from the island without even knowing the reason and why. And up to now, Chagossian has never been settled in Mauritius, where we were first dumped, or in the UK, like I mentioned when I first came in, the first Chagossians came into the UK for a better life. The Chagos Island were depopulated between the 1968 and 1970 to make way for a US military base on the largest island of Diego Garcia. There was roughly estimated 3,000 Chagossian, about half the worldwide now, live in Crawley, West Sussex, and some still in Mauritius. Chagossian was sometimes referred as Diego Garcian, Ilua, and other things. The governor of Mauritius, Sir Robert Scott, in his 1961 book, Lemuria, refers to Chagossian as native. A group of Chagos Archipelago is a group of more than 56 low-lying atolls, covering a total area of 60,000 kilometers square, of which Chagos Garcia is the largest island. It lies 200 kilometers from the other main island groups, Perros Banus and Solomon Island, which are the small and widely scattered, lie about 2,000 kilometers from Mauritius and the Seychelles, to which they were linked for 200 years. Chagos was inhabited and first discovered by the French in 1500. The first successful permanent colony was established by the French on Diego Garcia in 1793, consisting of 50 men and a complement of slaves, in which it just show you to start with that Chagossian is not origin of Mauritian. And in the Paris Treaty, 1814, the Chagos Island and all the other island, which was administered by Mauritius, became British. Chagossian, most of the Chagossian population are from slave, like I said, in 1793, when the French first brought slavery to the island. And when the slave was abolished in 1835, all of the native slave, which now is the ancestor and present Chagossian descent, stay there in the island. So they live there all this time from 1793 until the abolishment, which most of the slaves were from Mozambique and Madagascar. And again, it's just show because people sometimes they can't make the difference between Chagossian and Mauritian. And a lot of people seems to have, that perception of thinking that Chagossian people are Mauritian. We're not Mauritian. And obviously, after the World War, later on, Chagos has British, soldier as well there. And that's when Mauritius, obviously, after its independence in 1968. And before that, like I said, Mauritius was a center of administration of not only Chagos Island, it was also Réunion Island, Seychelles Island, and Rodrigue Island. And today, when you look back, you see Réunion has its own island for itself, which is still governing by the French. You have Seychelles, which is also an independent country. So what about Chagos? Well, the Chagossian, because we are a nation of our own. We've got our own culture, our own way of life, our traditional food, and we completely I can make the difference all day long between a Chagossian and a Mauritian person. What's happened is the Mauritius government at the time, and even the British government, they were talking like there was no people actually living in the Chagos, which is completely untrue. And there's proof, obviously, of Chagossian been living there since 1793. And today, especially after the ICJ court in 2019, I think Chagossian has not fight for their own, self-determination, or even being asked about what's happened to the Chagossian people. They were in that court, but when you look at that judgment, it was all for the Mauritian government. And Chagosian has been victimized and discriminated in Mauritius. When my parents landed in Mauritius, they were called all types of names. And all the Chagosian, can you imagine, like people, you're living on your island and suddenly you were forcibly removed to somewhere that far in Mauritius where some people has no connection at all whatsoever, like I've just mentioned. Some people got moved to Seychelles. I've got family, cousin, I've never been able to help them because the way people were shipped out to them two different islands. And today, obviously, a lot of people don't understand, like you just saw yourself on this survey. What are Chagosian? Chagosian is a nation, is probably the only nation in the world who's not got his own passport and who's not allowed to live on his homeland. And I don't see any reason why not, because there's still, Mauritian people that's been working there, living there for 20 years, going back and forth with contract. So why can't Chagosian go back to their land, their homeland? I think the UK, it is that way. The UK government and wanted to obviously wipe out the all Chagosian nation because Chagos Island got the best technology, the best internet system. It's a military base in the Indian Ocean. So why can't they have a hospital there? Why people are not allowed to be born there? I think they're waiting for Mauritian people, they're waiting for the last native Chagosian to die to start a new generation there. And that's why Chagosian Voice is fighting so hard to make people understand and realize how much Chagosian people have been suffering. And obviously today we got this opportunity through Island Innovation to talk about our struggle and how a lot of Chagosian people has drowned their sorrows like in alcohol because they could not cope with the weather that just turned out suddenly, like going to sleep tonight and tomorrow, like you didn't know where you were going to sleep, what's going to happen to you. Like few things, for instance, like Chagosian never paid rent in their homeland. But when they were dumped in Mauritius, they had to pay rent. They had no job. They had nowhere to go, And we were obviously, Chagosian people were promised by the Mauritius government, like we were supposed to get some nice land in the region of Black River district, like Rivière Noire, Tamara, but Chagosian people never seen them land. They were dumped in the slum of Mauritius, And at the time, Mauritius obviously was not developed. And 90% of the Chagosian men worked in the dock, in the harbor, hard labor. They had to carry like 100 kilos of rice, flour, all type of salt on their head, just on a plank of wood from the ship to the dock. It was really hard labor. And nowadays, like obviously I'm talking with, not just talking, but it's proof and fact as well. Nowadays, you go in the harbor, which is now becoming Cargo Handling Corporation. My dad used to work here. He just retired 3 years ago. There's hardly 10% of Chagosian, children working in the harbor because now it's all modernized. So Chagosian is surplus to requirement now. This is the type of thing that Chagosian people have been experiencing in Mauritius. And I want to just say something. Chagosian fight is not against Mauritian people. It's not against British people. It's not against any of the nations, against the Mauritius government and the UK government, and probably the American government as well. So, because sometimes you get some feedback, some people put things on social media and talk about Chagosian people and this and that, but they don't know what Chagosian people have been through. They don't know our struggle. The UK government is champion of human rights. So where's the human rights of Chagosian people? last year, there was a native from Diego Garcia. He was poorly, so he came to the UK with his wife. And his wife, obviously, is from Agaliga. The guy passed away last year. He came to the UK 3 years ago, sorry, and he passed away last year. And before he could get any pension, the amount of struggle he went through. And this made me really, really sad, because this guy can't even go back to his homeland, not because he don't want to, because UK government stopping Chagosian people going back to their land. You know, Chagosian are ready to go to the Chagos as soon as possible. But for some reason, like I said early on, this is just a tactic, like to stop Chagosian people going to their land, you know. And Chagosian people are, after struggling in Mauritius, obviously people who could make it for a better life, like myself in the UK, we came here, but we're still struggling. You know, when I first came here, there was no one to help me. Like I was saying early on, like it's rough outside, even though I was the holder of a British passport, no help. And still now, people still coming, and there's still no help. I had the opportunity to speak to Mr. Boris Johnson himself. At the time, he was Home Secretary, and he wanted to know about our issue, our struggle. And I told him, I said, listen, if you really want to help us, Brexit just happened, so why don't you give Chagosian people a chance, you know, to go training, to better themselves, to fill the gaps in NHS, and nothing. I had the opportunity to speak as well to the Royalness, Princess Anne, when I spoke about Chagosian issues. So people do know about Chagosian being in the UK. They know our struggle. We want, obviously, a better life and a real chance. That's what Chagosian's asking, a real chance, you know. They never got that. They never recovered from the traumatizing stress they've been through by, you know, being deported, leaving all their belongings behind. And one thing's like people don't know as well, like Chagosian people has their own, you know, animals, pets they had to left behind there. And those animals was, you know, burned by the UK government. And when I first came to the UK, I see how animals being treated here. It made me sad, you know. It really made me sad. And Chagosian people, like I said, being treated unfairly as second-class citizen in Mauritius and even in the UK. And like I said again, our fight is not against, you know, Mauritian people or British people. It's against the government who's wronged the Chagosian of their life and generation, obviously.
Thanks, Louis, for that overview. And I understand it's a really, obviously emotional subject after decades of discrimination and issues. And we have a lot of comments coming in and questions coming in. But I guess maybe you can talk specifically about the eviction, if that's the right word, or the removal of the people, which I guess was the 60s. Is that right? During the 60s?
Yeah, they started the depopulation in the 60s, like you just said. It started in the early 1960s, where obviously with the war, America found this island, Chagos Island, the perfect place for a military base in the Indian Ocean. And that's when they start talking to, you know, because like I said, Mauritius was just the administration center of all these islands. And at the time, you could not like travel, for instance, like from Chagos to Agaliga. Everything has to go via Mauritius. And people who is going to Mauritius, because don't forget, in the Chagos, there was no registration for marriage. So after the eviction, after all this, after Chagosian been fighting, when we got like a British passport, a lot of Chagosian brothers and sisters were separated because the government, the British government, put a law where, you know, if you were born before this or after this, you can't get a British passport. And this has divided family again. There's brothers who still in Mauritius from the same mom and dad. And like I said, there was no, marriage registration. So a lot of people were not married. So due to that, there's a lot of Chagossian people, descendant, who's not able to get the British passport, and it's causing a massive, emotional strain on the community.
Well, and just to clarify, you're saying, people who are not able to receive a British passport, these are descendants of people who were born on what at that time was considered British soil. It was a British territory. And so they why would they not be eligible for a passport if they were born on or descended of people born on what was considered British soil?
Yeah, because they could not prove, obviously, because their parent was not married, and some passed away, some single moms. So, and when you look at in the UK, like single mom are allowed to, pass their nationality to the children, but Chagossian were not allowed to do that. This is another discrimination against Chagossian people. And even like now, the suffering that is in the country, it's Chagossian people is disadvantageous with education to start with. There's a language barrier because most of the Chagossians speak Creole, yeah. So we don't speak English. We came here. It's hard to find job. There's no help still after so many years, and people have to, because when Chagossian were adopted in Mauritius, a lot of Chagossian descendants ended up married with Mauritian, Mauritian citizen. And because when you come over there, you got families, you have to apply for visa. Yeah. You see the immigration law, you see the thing that's really, really saddening me is the fact, I've got nothing against that. I'm happy for them asylum people. Obviously, when they come to the UK, they get rehousing, they get all the help they need from the government. Yeah. What's happened to Chagossian people, which has always been like a British subject, yeah, because even when Mauritius got its independent in 1968, Chagos has always been under, the British government. So the government has not took his responsibility there to start with, to send, his own subject to, a non-crown territories. And these are the things that, obviously, due to that, a lot of family got split up. A lot of family, like I was saying, not eligible for passport. They got the same mom and dad. So how would you feel? If your sibling could not get passport and all your brothers, the others, was here. That's the case. That's the struggle of Chagossian people. Chagossian people, like I said, we've never had a chance. We never got a chance. And still now, like you're just seeing yourself, a lot of people don't know about our history. And what's Mauritian government's doing at the moment, for instance, like my mom, my parents, they're born in the Chagos. On their passport now, on their passport is showing their place of birth, Mauritius. But they were never born in Mauritius. This is something really, really, I don't know exactly what the Mauritian government's trying to do, but this is completely wrong. Like me personally, I was born in Port Louis. I was born in Dockers Flat. And on my parents' passport, they're not showing where they're born. They're just showing Mauritius. And it's wrong. And I want the government, obviously, to change all this. And one thing as well I want to point out is the amount of money and land Chagossian people are supposed to receive in Mauritius. They never saw that. Segaitol developed at the time said Chagossian should be the richest, nation in the Indian Ocean, but Chagossian never seen that money, never seen that land. They had to struggle and work, and up to now, if Chagossian was settled in Mauritius, why do you think so many people are trying to come to the UK? It just shows you Chagossian has never settled in Mauritius, and Chagossian still not settled in the UK. I want the government to take its responsibility, than helping, like I said, asylum people. What about Chagossian people that you will forcibly remove and exile from their homeland? And there's no reason for Chagossian not to be able to go back to their land. They're stopping us going to our homeland, At the same time, we're not getting anything from the government. You know, we're not like beggars. We just want a real life, real opportunity, and we're still waiting. There was this 40 million package that been voted for Chagossian, yeah? This is another chaos, another cock-up from the government, obviously. Recently, we received some funding for Manchester people in Manchester. And why we went COVID? Yes, they spent so much amount, like £15,000 on refurbished laptop to give Chagossian people with breadcrumbs, scratches. So is that how you treat people, really? That's why I'm saying Chagossian still being treated as second-class citizen, even though we have a British passport. So there's no help. I don't know who to turn to, obviously, because we always campaigning for, you know, help from the government to reskill people, make people learn, you know, for a better job to come out of poverty properly, not just for a few things there and there.
Mhm.
And there's no opportunity for Chagossian people. There's no opportunity. We can't go back to our homeland where, you know, another thing, if you got money, you see them massive, beautiful yacht with millionaires going to the Chagos Island, you know, going on the island, having graffitis, you know, not knowing the history of Mauritius, of Chagossian people, you know. This is really, really sad. People with money can go and spend a week in, you know, Chagos Island, which is a paradise, yeah. But Chagossian people can't go to their land. And they're getting nothing. And the island obviously just been leased by the UK government against to the US government. And Chagossian see nothing of that money. Chagossian got no say at all. Nobody's listening to us. And today, obviously, I want to take this opportunity to say thank you to Island Innovation for giving Chagossian Voices a chance to come and explain to people about Chagossian people. Chagossian people, our culture. So this is what we're about. We got our own food, we got our own nation, we got our own culture, our way of speaking. So we are different. We just need a chance and obviously tell people, because this story keep getting brushed under the carpet. A lot of people don't know about Chagossian people. A lot of people, you know, in 2021 now, and all these wrong things that has happened to the Chagossian, what is the government doing about it?
Mm-hmm.
What is Foreign Office doing about it? You know, if they really want to help Chagossian, you know, give Chagossian real opportunities. We don't have any say on the Chagos, on nothing. So people just keep bypassing us all the time. Like I said, we are the only nation probably in the world who's not got its own passport and who's not allowed to live on his land, not by, you know, his own thing. It's just because the government's stopping us from going from our homeland.
And Louis, there's a lot of questions coming in and kind of comments of support for people who maybe didn't know about this story and are learning about it. And I think just an extra piece of context, which maybe but was not covered, was why the eviction originally happened, which was essentially to make way for a US military base. That was why the island moved. And this is something that would resonate with many other island communities around the world is, and this is a particularly extreme example, but being moved for this purpose. So, I mean, is there any dialogue with the military? Why did that? What is the backstory there?
No, there's nothing. Like I said, Chagossian people at the time did not know why they had to leave their homeland, why they were forcibly exiled. It was to make way for a US military base, because it's the perfect location to reach, you know, the Middle East, to reach, you know, probably even China. So it was just the right location for just defense and war purpose. Yes. And like I said, I know people who's been living in the Chagos for more than 20 years, working on contract, going back and forth. Why Chagossian people can't go back to their land? Why can't Chagossian people work on Diego Garcia, on the Chagos? And why we're not allowed to go home, you know? And we've been asking for, obviously, like you said, there's a lot of questions, people. So, and when I said, obviously, decent people who want to help the Chagossian, come and help us make contact with Chagossian Voices. Because so far, what's been happening, nobody been listening to Chagossian. And Chagossian, like, obviously, like the population just, they don't know anymore what more they can do, to go back home. And like I said, it's just a tactic, a strategy from the British government to wait for the last native Chagossian, to die. And then there'll be a new generation there in the Chagos.
Mm-hmm.
So if the world, want to make things right, they need to first to help Chagossian go back and thrive on their homeland.
Mm-hmm. And Stacey's just made the point in the chat with parallels to the Winrush scandal that happened, and obviously they're very different contexts. But of course, the big difference from my perspective with Winrush was that there was a huge public outcry, there was a huge movement, there was a lot of attention, people calling out the UK government for discrimination and for the actions that it took. And unfortunately with Chagos, I guess because the population is much smaller, as you mentioned, there's a lack of resources, a lack of English language, all these other barriers. There's just not that political momentum that other movements have been able to get.
Yeah, I mean, the sad thing is, like, when you look recently what just happened to Hong Kong people, and the British government was ready to open nearly 1 million people with open arms. Chagossian people are only, with all their dependents, probably less than 10,000 people we're talking about. So why can't Chagossian be resettled in their homeland? Why can't Chagossian be looked after properly? Like I said, they did not have nothing to pay in their homeland. You kick them people, you force them out the island, by their own decision. And today you can't even rehouse them people. Last month, I was helping a native, yeah? He's disabled. But for some reason here in the UK, the doctor can't find to see him he's disabled, yeah? He was not getting his pension. This is another thing as well, like for all Chagossian who's still in Mauritius, yeah? Because they work in the Chagos and they work for the British Empire. Why can't they receive their pension in Mauritius? I'm going to give like a simple example, like my mum. She hates the UK. She don't like England. She says it's too cold because we come from a very hot country. So she wants to go back to her homeland, or at least, there's a lot of people that can't make it to the UK. Why can't them people get their pension in Mauritius? There's some native who's going to die not being able to see their land when so many injustice been, doing against them. And you see the treatment, like I was saying earlier, like asylum people getting, the right treatment. What about Chagossian people? There's only, like I said, 10,000. Even including that 10,000 people, the government has made it hard for Chagossian, to regrieve their family. Like I said, there's a lot of, Chagossian descendant who's still struggling in Mauritius and can't have a British passport through no fault of their own. Why can't the government correct all this injustice and give every descendant Chagossian a passport for a better life? People come to the UK, like I said, people got married to Mauritian citizens, and they have to put visa and all these things. And Chagossian people are not earning more than 18,000. Majority of Chagossian people not earning more than £18,000 a year. And the visa recruitment, like when you have children, you got to earn at least over 20 grand. So how is Chagossian people gonna do that?
Absolutely. And one thing that I can't help thinking about is when this period, over this period, another UK overseas territory that had challenges was the Falkland Islands, and the difference between how the UK government treated the Falkland Islanders and the Chagos Islanders as overseas subject. I don't know if you have any comments on that, because I do think it's
Yeah,
parallel.
obviously, I am happy for the Falkland people. They've been treated fairly and nice. And they are a population more than the Chagosian, which I've just mentioned again. Chagosian, with all their dependent and all the descendants, there's roughly 10,000, maybe not more than that. So why can't Chagosian have that same treatment? Like you see Reunion, like I mentioned earlier, Reunion as well was part of all the, island, Reunion Island, Seychelles. So why can't Chagos be governed by Chagosian people? Where's our self-determination? And I want, obviously, people who's in power who can help Chagosian people. Chagosian people need a passport of its own. We don't have a Chagosian passport. That's why people seem to think we are Mauritian or, British, but we want our passport, our own homeland. We want to go back home. And we want people to help us, people who's in power, because we've done nothing wrong against nobody, Chagosian was happily, peacefully live on their lands. And
what would you like to see happen? I mean, I know that's a difficult question because in some ways it seems like you've exhausted every avenue of potential help, but there are people asking about the role of the UN system and awareness within that. What does the future look like for you?
I want the UN to start first to recognize Chagosian as a nation of its own, not as Mauritian, because like I mentioned earlier, Chagosian people are from slave, who was first, moved there by the French in 1993. So Chagosian people been there all that time. And that's why I'm going to say it again, Chagosian people are not from Mauritian origin, because Mauritius was the administration of all them islands. And today, when you look at Reunion Island, they're still governed by the French, which should be the same case of Chagosian, because you look at Seychelles, got its own independence. You look at Reunion, so Chagosian wants its own independence. Chagosian don't want to be part of Mauritius because the Mauritius government has done so many things against Chagosian people. Like I said, I was a bit lucky. My dad had a job in the job, but it was hard laboring, and he managed. But a lot of people did not have that chance. A lot of Chagosian people did not have that chance, still living in poverty now in Mauritius.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have to wrap up in a second, but another question that's come in a few times is just people who this is new to them, they want to find out more information. They want to know what groups are standing up for the Chagosians. So what are the different groups, and also where can they go to read more and learn more about this this fight?
Yes. So what's happened? Obviously, Chagosian been fighting all this time. Like you said, there's so many different groups, but Chagossian Voice has brought hope, to Chagosian people, and you fresh breath of air, because what Chagosian Voice is, it's a group, it's a platform for all the leaders of different groups, to come and share their opinion and fight for the cause of Chagosian. Like before, like I was saying, myself, I'm the leader of Manchester Chagos Archipelago community groups. Yes, I can talk all day long, there's no sound, but Chagosian Voice has brought all the leaders together like this. Now people start hearing us. Now, obviously, Island Innovation has given us this platform. Now the FCDO is making contact with us, talking with us, and Chagosian Voices have just been created since December and has achieved so many things. We've been in touch now with Tim Woodhouse from the Home Office policymaker. We're in touch with the APPG member. And I've got to say as well, a big thank you to Patrick Allen, who's been helping us, and also to Dean Slavin, who's really helped the Chagosian community in Manchester. Also my MP, Mike Kane, and all the Chagosian, leaders, brothers and sisters who's fighting for the right of Chagosian. So this is what Chagosian Voice has brought up to Chagosian people like a platform where now people is actually paying attention and engaged, and we're talking about how we could help the community. So yes, Chagossian Voices is the groups that's fighting, and also there's other groups as well, or the leader. So again, I ask all Chagossian, leader, whatever they want to call themselves, groups, or whoever's helping to come and bring the contribution, with Chagossian Voices. It's for all Chagossian.
And there's immense amount of solidarity coming here through the chat, which is great to see. People, other islanders saying about the connection that they have to the land and to the islands that they're from, and just kind of empathizing with that connection being taken away. We're really happy to be able to have given you this opportunity to talk today and share just part of the story. There's so much more that we didn't get into, but hopefully it gives people at least a good understanding of where things are now. And also we'll continue to share updates about what's happening with Chagos through the Island Innovation platform. So I'm not sure if there's anything else that you want to add, but thank you so much for coming today and sharing this background. This recording will also be made available, so hopefully a lot of people will be able to get to see it.
Yeah, I would like the government obviously to take its responsibility and put things right and give passport to every Chagossian descendant. And also, I think Chagossian should not penalize, like with immigration law, paying visa, like people has to do the life in the UK test. You think about this, some Chagossians partners, like in their 60s, they don't even speak English properly. How are they going to pass all them tests? How are Chagossian going to get all that money to pay for visa? So I want the government to relook at all them things and hopefully remove them barrier for Chagossian to be able to reunite with their family, and also to give Chagossian a place like a center where Chagossian can thrive and empower people in Crawley and Manchester. Thank you for giving me this opportunity today to talk, and hopefully something really good will come out of this. Thank you, Island Innovation.
Thank you, Louis. We really appreciate your time, and thanks everyone for joining this session right now. I'd invite you to join other sessions taking place later on today. The next session will be taking place at 8 p.m. UK or 3 p.m. Eastern US time, which is an interactive discussion on climate action using the Remo platform, where you can actually meet other other participants and have a live discussion on climate issues. We also have a session on renewable energy for islands later. And our Pacific opening, where we have speeches including the President of the Marshall Islands, the President of Palau, and the Secretary General of the Pacific Islands Forum. So lots more happening today. Make sure that you try and join in on those sessions. And as I mentioned before, this session and all of our other sessions will be available on repeat, so you can watch that and learn some more. So thanks again, Louis, and thanks everyone for joining this session.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.